You are among the rare humans who are appreciating the contrast of your time and place. We always set you up for that big fib. You do know that you are extensions of source energy. Extensions of source energy, here on the leading edge of thought. What a nice place to be. In fact, it is the best place to be. In fact, that which is non-physical is here with you. In fact, not just now, but always. So here you are, source energy, expressing yourself in this physical body. And as you are moving through your experience, you give birth to constant new desires, preferences, ideas. You can't help it. The format of your exposure to life causes that to happen constantly. So your desire emanates from you. And this is the part that we want you to hear and remember, that we know so clearly and most of you have forgotten. As that contrast causes you to give birth to another rocket of desire, the non-physical part of you becomes that now. In other words, you are source energy. Source energy who expresses itself in this physical body. In a physical body on the leading edge of thought. A physical body who gives birth to new ideas and preferences. And when that happens, as always happens when you sift through contrast, the non-physical part of you becomes that. You know how we tell you that 99.99% of every creation is complete before there's any physical evidence of it? Well, that's because the larger part of you immediately becomes one with it. Do you know that if you're having an experience where you recognize that you don't feel as good as you want to, that in the moment of that awareness, you give forth a request that says, I want to feel better, and Source says yes, and Source does not say yes later, Source says yes now. And the non-physical part of you becomes that weller person right now. Do you know that when you don't have enough money and you'd like more money, whether it's a raging desire or a soft desire, that when that desire emanates from you, Source says yes, not later, yes, right now. And the part that we want you to realize is that that non-physical energy essence of you has become that more prosperous being. So what's happening to you through every exposure to every experience that you have is that on a vibrational level, on the non-physical level, on the God source level, you are becoming that expanded being. You are becoming weller, you are becoming wiser, you are becoming more flexible, you are becoming more resilient, you are becoming all of the things that your contrast causes you to ask for. So whether you ever catch up with your own vibrational escrow or not, Source, all that is, has benefited by it. In other words, you are adding enormously to this non-physical and physical expansion. And as you do that, as you move through contrast and as you give birth to desires, the desires become immediately, and the question that we want to pose to you here today is, what are you doing about closing that gap? So we have some answers for you. If you are feeling exhilaration, you've closed the gap. If you're feeling appreciation, you've closed the gap. If you're banging around and you see something you want and you say, oh, I'd really like to have that, or even if you don't say those words, even if what you're saying is, I really don't want this, even though you're saying, I really don't want this, you're giving birth to what you really do want, and as you give birth to what you really do want, it becomes. And as you feel exhilaration, you've closed that gap. As you feel despair, the gap is wide. So what we're really talking about here is vibrational relativity that is so important to understand because it's the way you understand yourself as energy. In other words, you were long before you were in this body, and you continue to be long after you are not in this body. But while you are in this body, you want to keep up with who you are. And so you can tell that you are closing the gap by the improvement in the way you feel. And you can tell that you're widening the gap by feeling worse. Your emotions let you know. Now this is the part that you may not remember. So here you are living whatever you're living. And your moment-to-moment experience causes you to give birth to another desire. In other words, you become more. The non-physical part of you becomes more. And then that non-physical part of you, who has now become more because you caused the becoming through your sifting through the contrast. Pat yourself on the back, it's important. Now, the non-physical part of you is calling you toward what part of you has become. So what you're always listening for is that beckoning call. And you know what it sounds like. It sounds like love. It sounds like joy. It sounds like thrill. It sounds like passion. When you are answering that call, it sounds like the most delicious parts of physical life experience. And when you go toward the light, so to speak, and become one with it, you feel at your very best. That's when you are thriving most, you see. But what if you're living some life experience that has you in despair? What if something has left you feeling powerless? And in that powerless moment, and lots of them that preceded that one, you gave birth to lots of rockets of desire. And so vibrational escrow is over here all bright and shiny and healthy and happy and rich and joyful and connected, calling you. But you're over here in despair. So what does the call sound like to you? Can you even hear the call of joy from your place of despair? Well, we have another question for you. Can you set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM? You can't, can you? Because the frequencies have to match up. That pure positive energy you, that inner being you, that God force you, is calling you. And if you're in despair, the call might sound like rage or revenge. Does that surprise you? It does most people, because they think source should sound like harps and angels. And we want you to understand that when you get closer to the vibrational proximity of that which source is, it will get sounding and feeling better and better and better. One of the things that we've noticed about you, we see it with almost all of you, is that sometimes you get yourself into a place where you feel so angry that you think you're going to explode, and then some student of Abraham reminds you that you create your own reality and you shouldn't be behaving like that. And we know you want to say to them, it's not possible that I create my own reality or you'd be dead, because nothing is more annoying than to be in that place where you are hurting and wanting to feel better and have someone who already feels better reprimand you for not feeling better. And the thing that we so much want you to hear is that the improvement in the way you feel is your indication that you're moving in the right direction. When you are in despair and you find rage or revenge, you have made a step in the right direction up the emotional scale. And we also know that no one can jump from powerlessness all the way into empowerment in one fell swoop. You know, on this emotional scale, how on the end that feels really good, up there with joy and love and appreciation, isn't what really is there is your perception of absolute empowerment and freedom? And on the end that feels like despair and fear, isn't that all about disempowerment? So it turns out that your emotions all along, no matter what word you have used to define them in any given moment, they have always and only ever been, and it's quite enough, your awareness of the vibrational relativity between who you're being right now because of the thought you're thinking and the drum you're beating, and who you have already become as a result of life experience. You are powerful creators, and you've come forth to create. You came forth for the joy of creating, not to fix a world that is broken. It isn't. Not to get things done that need to be done. Does the world really need another painting, for heaven's sakes? Does the world really need another song? Does the world really need another book or another teacher? The world doesn't need any of that. It happens because you want to have the experience of that. When you go on vacation, you plan your trip. I'm going to go to this city and this city and this city and this city and this city, you say, and then I'm going to come back home. You never look at your itinerary and say, well, let's see, there, and then finally home. Oh, final destination is home, and I'm already home. Why go? I think I'll just check vacation off my list, because clearly I have already accomplished it. And you don't go on the vacation to get it done. You go on the vacation for the fun along the way, for the stimulation, for the people that you will meet, for the potential of good feeling, for new awarenesses, for the living of life. And you didn't come into this physical body to get it done. You didn't come for marks on the chart. You came for the joy of the exposure to the experience. And you knew it would be joyful because then you knew that when you ask, it is given. So you said, I can go forth into any environment, and any environment will inspire me to an idea of something that I want. And then you said, and when the idea is born, I will become it immediately. Because from the non-physical perspective, you knew that you would become it immediately. There's just this one little buffer of time thing that humans have going on, where there is a little lapse in time between the inception of something that you want and the realization of it. But that's only true if there is vibrational variance. In other words, you can get to the place where you can live on this brink of enthusiasm and appreciation and love, where you'll have an idea and it will manifest, and you'll have an idea and it will manifest, and you'll have an idea and it will manifest. But frankly, as we watch you, we think you like the pathos of it. We think you like the drama of it. We think you like launching rockets further out there. We think the contrast causes you to launch a really far rocket, and then you say, oh, I will really validate my experience by completing that. And we say, yes, or you could just get happier. In other words, quantum leaps don't usually work out very well. They're slower, and they have these backlashing qualities. But you can play it any way you want to, because it is your life experience. You get to choose how much you torture yourself on your way to joy. You get to choose every bit of that. And if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would torture ourselves not ever. We wouldn't put up with anything that we do not like. But you have to really understand what we mean by that. We're not saying that the world should stand on its head to please you in ways so that everything that you see will make you feel fine. Because the world was not born to serve you. The components of the world were all born to serve themselves. You were born to serve you. And we want you, if someone were to ask you, like we are going to impertinently do right now, and what is your justification for life? How do you validate yourselves? We want you to say, I don't. I'm just here. I don't need any validation other than my existence, because I am the center of the universe. And when I think a thought, law of attraction responds to my thought. And when I practice it often until my thought is dominant, that's what a belief is, then all around me is evidence of my practiced thought. And if I ever want to know what my vibrational content is, all I have to do is look at what's manifesting in my experience. We call that post-manifestational awareness. It works, it's just a little messy. Or you could say, in every moment, I have visceral, emotional, gut awareness of my vibrational relationship, not between somebody else's idea of who I should be and who I am, but the carefully honed, chosen, and created path that I set into motion even before my birth, that I have tended to and added to incrementally every moment since I got here. The vibrational escrow that waits for you. It is beauty beyond description. There is a fortune amassed for you. Mastery of so many satisfying subjects. And physical well-being, the likes of which most have not yet remembered. Waiting for you. And all you have to do is chill out and stop pushing against what isn't working. And trust that step 3 will take care of itself if you will stop pushing against what is wrong. Sometimes we see you setting goals, expressing affirmations, knowing what you don't want, so trying to talk about what you do want. And we want to say to you, you're working too hard at that, because life is causing you to ask. No, even more, life has caused you to become. Your fortune is there for you. The body you want is there for you. The lover you want is there for you. The life you want is there for you. And you know how you find it? You follow your bliss. Best words ever spoken. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. And we say, good words, Joseph, but how about if you can't find bliss, then reach for frustration. And if you can't find frustration, then reach for anger. And if you can't find anger, then reach for revenge, because one of those is going to hook you up. And how do you know you're moving toward what you want? You feel relief Every time. You feel the releasing of resistance, and it always feels like relief.